Preseason game 2 against the Tennessee Titans is in the books. What are all the takeaways of preseason game number 2? Let's talk about it on the Skol State of Mind podcast. Let's hit them with the intro.
Hey there, Vikings Nation. Get ready to dive deep into the Skol State of Mind. Join our host, D. Woods, as he shares his unfiltered takes on all things Vikings, from expert game analysis to player controversies and everything in between. If you love the Vikings for better or worse, then you've come to the right place. So grab a drink and let's talk all things purple and gold. This is the Skol State of Mind podcast.
What up, Viking fans? I'm your host, D. Woods, and it's the Skol State of Mind podcast. I got an interesting episode for you guys coming up today. But first off, I want to thank everybody out there that's been liking the videos, commenting on the videos, subscribing to the channel, sharing the videos. I really appreciate that. It helps this channel reach a different audience, and I really appreciate it. So let's get into it. Let's talk about Ryan Clark. So it's been a big thing on social media about Ryan Clark saying that George Pickens is more talented than Justin Jefferson. At first, when you see the tagline and you see the caption, immediately you're like, what is he talking about? But you got to take that with a grain of salt, because he never said that George Pickens is a better all-around receiver and is the top receiver in the league. We all know Justin Jefferson is that dude. He's the best receiver in the league. Now, if Ryan Clark would have said something like that George Pickens is better than Justin Jefferson, then I would have a problem, because we're just talking about talent. Now, talent can only take a person so far. Let's look at it, for example, of Jadeveon Clowney. Jadeveon Clowney was drafted number 1 overall with the Houston Texans. Is he more talented than someone like a Danielle Hunter? Probably not. See, his talent took him that far to be drafted high in the draft, but it takes more than just talent to solidify yourself in this league and to be consistent year by year in this league. Jadeveon Clowney has probably been on a couple of different teams since his rookie contract. Now look at Danielle Hunter. Danielle Hunter is a top 10 pass rusher when healthy. Now, that's not just talent. Now, let's get it back on the receivers. George Pickens is a nice receiver. Like, he's developing into, a big play receiver over there with Pittsburgh. I'm not going to take anything from that. But he's not the best receiver in the league. And that's not what Ryan Clark said. So we shouldn't get hung up on just the talent, because talent is just one thing. And there's a lot of other different things that go into being the best receiver in the league besides just talent. Because talent can get you drafted. But what are you going to do after you get drafted? Are you going to put in the work? Are you going to work on your route running? What are you doing to actually get better? Because just like I said before, your talent can only take you so far. So let's not talk too much about Ryan Clark. That's just all I have to say about that. But moving forward, the Vikings had their second preseason game this Saturday against the Tennessee Titans. Excuse me. There's a couple of takeaways. There's a couple of things that I want to talk about that I saw was interesting, against that game. Of course, they lost. First off, I don't understand what's going on with KLC. Like, we already know what Mullins is as a backup receiver. I would have liked to see Jaron Hall play more with the second unit, because I want to see him develop, because we know what we have in Nick Mullins. We know it. We know already. So there's no need to be trotting him out there, starting the game in the preseason. Let him play with the threes, because we want to see what Jaron Hall can do. Like, it just makes no sense. I just feel like sometimes KLC gets a little too cute, and he's not thinking, about certain things or whatever, because it's like, okay, we already know Mullins is a backup quarterback. So why draft a guy, that you want to develop, and you not showcase him, and you not actually try to put him in situations that he can succeed? I just don't understand it. I just understand it with that. But let's just keep going forward on other things I would like to talk about the preseason game. Lewis Seen. I know Lewis Seen right now is a polarizing topic with Viking fans. Some people like him, some people don't. Some people call him a bust or whatever. But let's get down to it. Like I've been saying for the longest, the kid had a compound fracture last year. Okay? Compound fracture. For him to be healthy this season and actually playing, it's already an improvement, and it's great to see a player have that dedication to actually get back on the field. That's cool. But with that being said, he lost his rookie season. This technically is his rookie season. Yes, I know it's his second year in the league on paper, whatever, but he was rehabbing majority, let's say 90% of the season last year. He didn't have time to develop, to learn any playbook, which is probably good because now he can only learn the terminology with Brian Flores and he didn't have to deal with that bullshit going on with Ed Donatel. But let's stop giving him a hard time. Please. I just don't understand it. Like, just because he was drafted in the first round and people are saying like he's not going to pan out, he can't do this and he can't do that, he might be a bust. Give him some time to develop. Not every player that gets drafted is going to be a Justin Jefferson, or a Harrison Smith. It's not going to happen. Like, we got to really stop having these high expectations for guys just because they were drafted in certain places. Like, it makes no sense. You're not giving the kid any time to grow, and he's coming into this situation with so much pressure. And just like I told you guys before, who are the players playing in front of him on the team? Harrison Smith is probably a Hall of Famer. Let's just say that. And he's still technically good and playing Brian Flores' defense. He's going to be pretty much back to doing the things that he was doing with Mike Zimmer. Cam Bynum has developed into a starting caliber safety in this league. Josh Metellus, special team stud that's probably going to be playing in the big nickel more than often. Somebody has to play in the preseason. Somebody has to be the backup. And it's good to see Lewis Seen actually playing the whole game, in my opinion, getting snaps, learning more reads. The kid is just going to get better. Yeah, he missed that tackle, but it's not that much of a big deal. I consider it from a running back point of view that the running back made a good play, and that's going to happen. So what are you going to do every time this kid gets on the field and he doesn't make a play? You're just going to whine and complain about it? This is preseason. People are out there saying preseason don't count or whatever, but are the same people saying that Lewis Seen is a bust because he's not making these quote unquote splash plays in the preseason. So which one is it? Now, let's talk about Ivan Pace Jr. Me personally, I'm not that high on Ivan Pace. I'm just not, because I don't believe in smaller linebackers being able to play every down and play consistent. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong. I mean, he's smaller than Eric Kendricks. His speed is great, but I mean, I'm just not that high on him. I'm not going to sit here and say like he's going to be a bust because the kid has been playing out his mind. He's an undrafted free agent. I mean, it is what it is. He's developing, and that's why they putting him on the field. Like, but I'm just not that high on him. I just want to see when the season actually starts, how are they going to rotate him, Asamoah, and Hicks, or whoever in that linebacker spot? Because what I'm seeing is they're playing more three safeties, aka big nickel, more than anything. So I don't know if he's going to be a situational player on this defense. I just want to see it. All right. Going forward, let's talk about Andrew Booth Jr. I mean, what can I say? It's like, to me, I don't think he had a bad game. I don't. I really don't think he had a bad game. Um, it is what it is. Like, he's going to develop, and we have to allow these players to develop. I remember when Xavier Rose got drafted, and it was a big thing. Like, oh my God, this guy is going to get all these penalties, and he can't cover anybody. And then Zimmer came in and actually developed him, put the boxing gloves on him so he wouldn't hold or whatever. And he became one of the best defensive backs in the league. I'm not saying that Andrew Booth can come to that, but you have to give him a chance to actually grow and develop into something. Because as of right now, all they're doing is molding clay. That's all they're doing. And he's had a lot of injury issues, since high school and in college. So this is probably one of the first times in his football career where he's healthy. So let's not give him too much of a hard time, and let's let these kids develop. All right. So another thing I want to talk about too, since we're talking about people developing, I remember last season, there was a lot of talk about the Vikings should draft Malik Willis in the third round. And, well, some people had Malik Willis going in the first round. Malik Willis hasn't developed into anything right now. And he played a lot of games last year. So the same people who go on social media and who said that the Vikings should draft Malik Willis are the same ones that saying, "Oh my God, I'm glad we passed on the guy." Let Quasi do his thing. Let Kevin O'Connell do their thing. They are going to strike out sometimes on players, and they're going to hit on some players. Let's not be so subjective on everything they do, because there's a reason why Malik Willis was drafted in the third round. Like, it just is. But let's talk about offensive line issues. Well, we already know that, during the preseason game, they were playing the second unit and the third unit, but there was a lot of videos circling around, throughout the week of Garrett Bradbury getting, just tossed, forklift, or whatever you want to call it. So Vikings still have consistent offensive line issues. Oli Udo had a bad game. I mean, Oli Udo had a bad game. Let's talk about Oli right now. You've been playing against the same guy since like Wednesday. So, I mean, these guys learning each other's moves, on each other's tendencies. You got to think about that, because it ain't like they showed up this week and they just started playing for the first time this year. They've been actually playing against each other for the past couple of days. So I put that in the equation too. Like, okay, maybe that's why Odie had some struggles, because the guy kind of like understood what he was going to do. It's not a big deal to me. I still think Udo is okay backup going forward. But you got, Dalton Reisner out there, and everybody's talking about that. And like I said in my previous videos, I don't know what's going on with Reisner. I don't know if he wants to get a guaranteed starting job, but what is the reason why he's available right now going into week 3 of the preseason? If you're that good of an offensive guard, why are you available? And if it was about money, then he shouldn't have signed with somebody in the beginning of the offseason when majority of the teams had more money to give free agent players coming in. That's just my thing about it. I think that the Minnesota Vikings are okay with their offensive line. We still haven't seen the actual first unit play football yet. We've only seen them in joint practices or whatever. So let's just wait and see what happens when O'Neal gets healthy and they can kind of mesh together and go ahead with the offensive line that they had last year. Me personally, I believe in continuity. I actually believe that the more you keep offensive linemen together, the more they trust each other, the more they learn with each other, and you create a solid unit. But just trying to bring in somebody like Reisner in the third week of the preseason, I think the Vikings are already set with what they want to do. Now, next week, it's going to be joint practices against the Arizona Cardinals. I want to see what they're going to do about Buda Baker. They really don't have any flashy receivers. They got, Hollywood Brown over there, but that guy can't really catch. So the Vikings should beat up on these guys in this joint practice. They should really try different things going forward in this joint practice, but I don't know that they have any other guys, excuse me, excuse me, with the Arizona Cardinals that are going to actually do too much. I don't know if Kyler is actually practicing like that considering with his injury, but we're going to see. It's going to be some good videos. It's going to be some bad videos. All I'm saying is that as fans, we got to take it with a grain of salt. It is practice. These guys are actually trying to get better. That's pretty much all I can say about the joint practice. But my closing statements is this. As fans, we have to stop being so high and so low within certain situations. Now, KLC is in his second year as a head coach of a NFL football team. Kwesi is in his second season as a general manager of a football team. These guys are still figuring it out. As a fan, I am allowing them the time to figure things out and, figure out how they're going to draft and make their tendencies and stuff like that, because I think it's kind of unfair within their second year. We are like, oh my God, everybody that Kwesi drafted last year is a bust. We don't know that yet. Oh my God, everybody this year is a bust. Oh, what is it like? We got to stop doing that because it takes the fun out of watching the team when you just constantly criticize everything that's going on. I think these guys are developing their own tendencies in their own ways, and we just got to wait and see what happens. Now, as if for Kwesi having a lot of bust in the draft, I mean, I don't think so. I just think the positions that he drafted, some of those positions actually take time to develop. Like, everybody's not going to be a Sauce Gardner and just come in and be one of the best corners in the league in college. It doesn't really happen like that. Some players, it actually takes time for them to develop. I mean, the only bad thing I can say about it going forward is that, let's just say Lewis Cine and Andrew Booth do develop at the end of this season and they got their third season in. Now you're looking at fifth-year option of when you're going to pay them a little bit earlier. So that's probably the only bad thing about it. And we got to stop comparing what other teams did with their team. And, oh my God, Kyle Hamilton was available. Yeah, Kyle Hamilton was available, but Kwesi wanted to trade down, and he got a safety, and he got a guard, and he got another defensive back. We got to look at it like that, because if Andrew Booth would have hit the ground running, oh my God, Kwesi is a genius. So let's not think about it like that. So I'm excited going forward of what's going to happen with these joint practices with the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, the real season is right around the corner. So I can't wait. See you guys on Wednesday for the next video. If you guys, got any comments, comment in the comment section, like and subscribe to everything on social media. And here go the outro.
Thanks for tuning into the Skol State of Mind podcast. Take a beat to give us a 5-star rating and review wherever you get your podcasts. Join us next time, and don't forget to follow Skol State of Mind on all social media platforms to keep up with all the news and updates. Thanks again for listening, and as always, Skol Vikings.